Hey guys, it's Kris Jones, and this is episode 13 of Ask Me Anything. I am here at KBJ Capital, right? That's where I'm shooting these videos. In the future, I hope to kind of move around town and maybe even do some as I'm traveling around the country, around the world. So stay tuned. But I just wanted to give you a quick glimpse of KBJ Capital. This is my investment fund, as I've mentioned in previous videos. I've got about 20 companies in my portfolio. Some of those companies have actually been incubated out of this space, like Refer Local and LSCO and others. Whereas I use this space a lot to meet with the founders of my businesses or with the senior management of those businesses to kind of work on issues and challenges and opportunities and all that fun stuff. So episode 13, I want to thank Joe and Jeff for stepping up and asking me two provocative questions. Both of these guys are friends of mine who it's been really fun watching their careers over the years. So let's dive right into it. Joe Ravello, he is a fellow entrepreneur. He says, "Hey Kris, what have you found to be the most efficient and feasible way to scale your businesses? Hire more sales staff first to handle the hot leads coming in, or hire the development staff first to handle the extra work?" No, actually. What you do is you start first with product market fit. You want to make sure that the product you're selling is going to have the highest likelihood of converting into a transaction. That process actually is something that you could learn more about. And I know you own a digital marketing company and a web design firm, but read a book like Eric Ries's Lean Startup. It's sort of a way of thinking where you start first with the product. How could you deliver the perfect product for the potential buyer? So I like to think about it that way. Is the product right? The second thing that I would say before we start hiring a sales team and scaling the business is, what are we selling? Are we selling products or are we solving problems? I think if we solve problems, we have a much greater likelihood of building a real big business. If we're just selling products, we lack discipline. We tend to want to fit sort of round things into square holes. I think the better approach is to really think about the value that these products are ultimately going to add. Again, the way that I like to think about it is solving problems. Once that's figured out, and once you've shined up your products and your services and you've gotten a lot of positive feedback and negative feedback that you use to make the product or the service better, but once that's done, I think it's at least twofold. One is brand. I think people end up buying things based on how those things, services, products, make them feel, which I've talked about in previous videos. But a lot of the reading that I've done over the years, whether it be books or video on how to go above and beyond with your product or service, it always comes back to brand. Ask yourself this question, Joe. How does your brand, when you present it, make other people feel? So I'd really work on that as well. So get the brand thing right. Brands are dynamic. Brands aren't static. They're dynamic. They're constantly moving, and they need to be moving. In my opinion, at least what's worked well for me are brands that are not only dynamic, but that are high energy, that make people feel good, that make people feel like they want to be part of those brands. And the second thing, outside of making sure that your brand is constantly building, the momentum around it, the energy around it, the believability of it, the association with it around whatever core area of expertise or whatever problem you're solving or whatever product you're delivering. The second piece is more around, which you mentioned in your question, around sort of sales and business development. And so I would recommend that you read the book by Chet Holmes called The Ultimate Sales Machine. And I've referenced it before, and I'll reference it in the future. We're going to be doing 100 of these videos together. So the thing I love about that book is that it helps entrepreneurs like you and I think about who our best buyers are, who those ultimate, the most desirable customers. So, because growing a business just isn't about adding or selling more product all the time or adding new customers. It's about selling it to the right people and bringing on the right clients, if you will. And so Chet talks a lot about that through his best buyer strategy. He also talks about something called the stadium pitch. So getting really good at your speaking to the core of your market and not speaking to either end of it, especially if you're in a room with someone who might not be it might not be interested in immediately taking action to buy your service. How do you speak to them? And he uses something called educational marketing in that book. So I hope that helps, Joe. For me, I'm like a mad scientist, I think, when it comes to scaling businesses. I love it. I love everything about it, from startup phase all the way to the first $1 million to 10 and beyond. I'm actually obsessed with it. I love it. So happy to go offline with you and really kind of break that down. But clearly you've had a ton of success already up to this point, and I would love to hear back from you in the months to come, in the years to come, so that you kind of take some of the training wheels off and scale it to even the next level. Second question, Jeff, my man, Raymond. It's been awesome to watch you over the last couple of years, partly because I don't know if I'm as much of a car enthusiast as you are. You're really, really into it, and I love it. But some of the cars that you've had just are awesome. And so it's been fun to watch that, but you also are this kind of guy that really cares about personal development. And obviously that's something you and I connect on. So not surprisingly, your question is on personal and career development. And here's what you say, so that the other people watching this have the background. So you say, I've come a long way in tech skills over the past few years. You've seen multiple aspects of working in your field, consulting, full-time, 100% remote, just basically different ways that you've been employed. And you recently landed that amazing, career-changing gig with the best career growth you've ever been facing. Congratulations, my friend. It's funny what happens when you think big. It's funny what happens when you allow positivity and optimism to creep into your life. By the way, those two things you have them, my friend, and you've been through a lot. I've also watched your personal life have challenges, my friend. I know how it feels. And you've kept your head held high. It's amazing what happens when you could do that. It's a quote that I have when I was struggling, when my mom was first diagnosed with an illness when I was a teenager. And I came up with this quote. The degree to which you persevere in the face of hardship defines the strength of your character. My friend, I think of you when I think of that quote. So congratulations on this new gig. So for those of you that are still paying attention here, let me go back to Jeff's question. So he says, no doubt, now that he's landed this amazing gig, he has no doubt in his tech skills, but he's a new guy on the block, right? And he says, how do I impress? How do I take it to the next level? And to coin my friend Gary Vaynerchuk, Kris, how do I crush it? So, and Jeff currently lives in Dallas, Texas. He's originally from the Scranton area. Oh man, you know the answer to this one, and I'm gonna reaffirm it for you. A couple things. Number one, how do you make people feel when you enter the room? If you make people feel happy, if you make people feel your energy, I think it's two of the things that I care most about when I enter a room, especially when I'm the new guy or I'm meeting somebody for the first time. I want, who cares what happens in the middle? I want them to remember me as someone that's ready to get to work. Someone that is ready to do that. The other thing is, I'm a big believer in personal accountability, personal responsibility. In other words, you've got to be willing to take the sword. And I think that there are different ways that you can convey that to your new employer and to the people you work with. You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to be a weirdo about it. But at the end of the day, if you figure out why they hired you, what skills you bring to the table, and if you're able to figure out, and I don't know the company that you're employed by, but whatever their product or services are, and at the end of the day, how they're going to measure the performance, your performance and the company performance, if you could figure that out and start holding yourself accountable to it, my friend, you will continue to move up in that organization, and this truly will be the dream job, but what it'll actually be is a stepping stone to something even greater. So at the end of the day, I think it's attitude is going to be a big part of it. And listen, dude, we just started with the quote of overcoming challenges and kind of allowing that to define who you are. You take that attitude to work every day, man, you're going to continue to be successful. Hope today's episode was valuable to those of you watching. I am really having a lot of fun. I do need more participation. I mean, the last video that went out last week got 3,000 views, but only a couple questions, guys. And I get it. Like, this is active learning. This isn't passive. This ain't no TV show where I'm just standing here trying to get you to buy my book or to make it. No. This is me giving you guys everything I possibly can. And by the way, I'm having a good time doing it. I feel that it's the right thing to do, but I need your participation. So ask me questions. Become active with me. Stop being passive. As it not only relates to these videos, because this has been a big success, but I want it to be even more successful. In the same way that I reached out to Joe there, after he reached out to me with a question, and then Jeff, I want to do the same thing with you. And I encourage Joe and Jeff and others who've asked questions in the past to ask more questions. But I really want to make this active. I want to be able to move through 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions in an episode instead of just a few. That said, thank you for your time. If you've watched the video up to this point, I want to say thank you. Pay it forward. If you think someone else in your life would benefit from watching these Ask Me Anything videos, encourage them to ask that question. I have been challenged up to this point. I think some of the questions are actually more provocative than challenging, although they've been challenging as well. I want to go even deeper. I want to do whatever I can. I've been through a lot. It hasn't all been, it hasn't all been great. I'm just a positive and optimistic guy. So sometimes you could think, well, geez, this guy has everything. He can't answer a question about depression, or he can't answer a question about, failure, or a question about, overcoming death. Not overcoming death, but dealing with it when it comes into your life. Because I certainly don't have an answer to overcoming death, I'm sorry. Eat healthy. But whatever the question is, like, I'm here. I want to be challenged. So thank you guys very much, and I will see you for episode 14. Thank you.